Hello, it is I, Daisy X Machina, also known as the Speculative Detective, formerly Booktube Goddess, and this is a Get Ready With Me where I put on drag makeup to film videos later today. And who do we have here? Cappuccino is getting together with a friend, have a great chat. Cappuccino, no problem if you miss it. A cat is here. I love cats. I have a cat. Hey, cat. Lori is here. Lynette is here. Sandra is here. Oh my gosh, this is a full house. So, how is everyone's reading this week? For me, I wish Cap was here because I know she's reading T. Kingfisher. I got another Kingfisher book because I read A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, which I thought was an adult book that was featured a 14-year-old girl, like a Flavia Deleuze type situation. And I think it was marketed as adult, but I saw it won, I think, the Nebula for young adult middle grade. So I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, I wanted to read another Kingfisher. And I believe Cappuccino mentioned the author did horror novels. So I picked a book called A House with Good Bones, which was Kingfisher horror. What I love about Kingfisher's writing is the voice. You really get into the mind of the main character. These were written in first person. And the main character is this 30-year-old entomologist who's a little overweight. And she's going to visit her mother, who her brother is saying isn't doing very well. And then we find out that the house she lives in was once their grandmother's house, and the mother usually likes bright colors and all this sort of thing, but the house is painted all white, and there's the old pictures that the grandmother likes is on the walls. Anyway, so it's this, I don't know if I'd even call it a ghost story, but my problem with Kingfisher, and I had the same problem with the Wizard's Defensive Guide to Baking, there's a certain point in the middle of the books, and I really felt it in The House with Good Bones, that just felt really slow. It's like the sort of second quarter, sort of that 30 to 50, 60% mark, nothing is going on. And I almost DNF'd it. It's just like, God, this is getting so boring. But then finally, the plot picked up. But I don't think I'd recommend House with Good Bones. But I'm still interested in Kingfisher, so I'm open to reading more. But I decided I wanted to go back to middle grade because some of you know I kind of am trying to write middle grade, and I got the Nebula winner for 2022, which is Ruby Parks and the Invasion from Outer Space. I don't know, something like that. So I just started it. It looks good. It reads a little younger than what I'm sort of looking for in middle grade, but we'll see. So far, so good. Okay, after all that, Arman is here from India. Woo! It's night there. Well, you and Lynette have weird time zones. Thank you for joining us. Currently reading Time Shelter and Cloud Cuckoo Land. Don't know either of those. I like the title Cloud Cuckoo Land. Oh, Armand, I love The Wind-Up Girl. Yeah, dystopian sci-fi set in the near future, Thailand. Yeah, I read that, I forget, sometime last year. And it's one of those interesting books because, for me anyway, I did not like the main character, but I was still impelled to keep going with the novel, even though Wind-Up Girl isn't actually, at least doesn't start off as a main character, but good book. Disappointed. Oh no, 3 out of 5. You zapped. Huh. That's too bad because I was thinking about reading it for since June is Pride, but we'll see. Maybe I'll pick up another Pride book. Oh my God, you and Lynette should get together. You have over 2,000 books in your TBR? That is crazy. You prefer ebook or paper books instead of ebooks. I'm the opposite. I used to be the same way, but with eyesight failing, not failing, but I actually have cataracts, but I like blowing up print on ebooks. Oh, thank you, Lori. Dolores says, doesn't read middle grade unless I write it. Someone with a longer TBR than me. Yeah, you too with your TBRs. Okay, so let's get started on some makeup. I was thinking about just doing a monochrome pink because I haven't done that in a while. Or I was thinking about red again, or I could go with orange. But well, let's start off with monochrome pink and see where we end up. I'll try tape again. The old Scotch tape trick. I think I'm going to try to angle it up higher this time, though. Oops. Tape doesn't want to stick to powder. Okay. Yeah, with all this white powder, I always feel like I look a bit like a skeleton. Okay. You guys may know I have Paramount Plus as, mostly for Star Trek, but I have it on Amazon Prime, and I feel like I watch enough shows where it makes it worth it. But anyway, they released the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, Honor Among Thieves. So I think today I'm going to do a review. Bum, bum, bum. I'm going to do a review of Honor Among Thieves. How's this look? Because, one of the reasons why I changed my channel to Speculative Detective and got rid of BookTube is so I can do more videos on different mediums of science fiction, fantasy, horror, and Honor Among Thieves is right up my alley because, it's based on Dungeons and Dragons, and I think for this one, it was good. It was a good, decent Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was a welcome relief from the terrible one they released in 2000 with Jeremy Irons. And I love Jeremy Irons. And he was actually the best part of that movie, which was a pretty low bar. But unfortunately, he wasn't the main character. He was the villain. But I'm really grateful that they finally did a good Dungeons and Dragons movie. My only comment of it, or the only curious thing about it, is I don't know why, and I think this must be the major studios in Hollywood, but when they think of Dungeons and Dragons, they feel like it has to be a comedy, which I don't know why, because Lord of the Rings was such a fantastic movie series, and it wasn't, there was comedy relief. There was Merry and Pippin. There was sort of lighthearted moments, but it wasn't like a comedy. But as far as Dungeons and Dragons or a lot of these fantasy movies, it's like the major studios think it has to be a comedy to appeal to a general audience. And I'm not sure why. But Honor Among Thieves, I would say, is a comedy fantasy which is well done and enjoyable, at least for me. Although it wasn't perfect by any means. Okay, now this is kind of the shape I wanted and always miss, but it leaves so much white up here, which probably just means I'm drawing my eyebrows wrong. Okay, well, it's not even, but what else is new? Okay, here we go. Aristotle and Dante. Too much romance for me, and nothing much happens in the first half. And Dante isn't in it all that much and rather clingy. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, because I really like the first one. And the first one, talking about romance, the first one, it felt to me like there was an emphasis on a platonic relationship developing first, which I really enjoyed. And then as the feelings deepened, it got more into the romance. As opposed to a lot of these, especially young adult, where it's love at first sight and desire and this, really these intense feelings all at once. So, but I guess for the sequel of Aristotle and Dante, they're already in a relationship, so we can't start back and develop. We have to start at the more intense point. Finish When Women Ruled the World, which is about 6 Egyptian queens. 4 to 5. Yay. Oh, Cloud Cuckoo Land won a Pulitzer. Is it speculative? I'll have to look that up. I don't know. Spinning for the book. Oh, spin the book. Yay. Hey, Leslie, thank you for joining. Do you dream of Terra 2? So that is Lynette's spin on her TBR wheel. I don't know the book. After all that, don't know. Oh, you bet 10 books on the title. No, nothing about Dungeons and Dragons. That's okay. Well, if you're into speculative, or if you're into fantasy, it's a role-playing game where people sit around and roll dice and pretend to be wizards and warriors and all that. A very niche thing that started in the 70s, got popular in the 80s among nerds, and now it's really taken off. It's more into popular culture. Wish I had the patience to do my makeup. Well, I only do it once a week, and you're tuning in for my once a week makeup disaster. Blurb. When an Earth-like planet is discovered, a team of 6 teens, is this young adult, with 3 veteran astronauts embark on a 20-year trip. Oh, so it's a terraforming type novel. That's how it always is. Going back to Heinlein, Tunnel in the Sky, it's always, the planet's a little more deadly than they thought about. Excuse me. Okay, so see, the problem with dark pink is it's red. Pink is just red and white. So if I want a dark pink, I'm either going to go with red or purple. Actually, you know what? Before I go dark, let me go light. Yeah, Lori, tell us a little bit more about Cuckoo Land. Okay, this light pink is looking like the other pink. Okay. Yeah, so I want to do more, or not more, well, yeah, more videos on things other than books. So I was thinking of doing I mean, this week I'm just going to do Dungeons and Dragons, but I had this idea of doing one just on Charlton Heston's 3 science fiction movies that he did in the 70s or 60s, 70s. But it's weird because he was like a big name actor. Who I would see every year growing up, every year as Moses in the Ten Commandments. And this is back when there were just 3 network channels, so some movies were just events, and And he did Ben-Hur. But I don't know what happened. At some point, he got bitten by the sci-fi bug. And he did 3 really good science fiction movies. The first, of course, was Planet of the Apes. The second was Omega Man, which is based on a book, I Am Legend. And the third was Soylent Green. They're all 3 of them were based on a book. The Planet of the Apes was actually a French novelist who also wrote the book The Bridge Over River Kwai, which became a movie too. But anyway, I just think it's interesting that this big name Hollywood star just, for whatever reason, did 3 classic science fiction movies. Now, he wasn't some of the sequels to Planet of the Apes, but he wasn't really the main character, or they were like, you saw him in flashbacks. Okay, well, this looks terrible. So I think instead of going red, I'm just going to use this going with purple again. All roads lead to purple. Okay, Lori, it has various threads and timelines and is centered around a book by Diogenes, although there is no proof he really wrote it. Sounds very literary. And I assume it's kind of maybe historical fiction, or... Oh no, bad news this week concerning your elderly cat. I am so sorry to hear that. Hey Fit, thank you for joining us. Yep, a lot of people don't like Heston because of that. Yeah, Heston, it doesn't really bother me for seeing, as far as his movies are concerned. Because apparently in the 60s, he was a Democrat who was very vocal in the civil rights movement. And so I guess he's one of those guys that started quite liberal, or liberal in certain issues. And the gun thing took off, I think, in the 80s. Well, in the 80s, he switched from being a Democrat to the Republican when Reagan got elected. So I think maybe they were buddies in the acting community. I don't know. But because of Reagan, I think Heston switched to the Republican Party. And then I guess he was surrounded or embracing more Republican ideas and people, but one of them is Second Amendment, which led him to becoming like the president of the NRA. He's very, very vocal proponent of the right to bear arms. Yeah, the 80s were a interesting time politically. That looks better. The funny thing about Reagan is that unless you were around in the 80s, he really kind of has been rewritten or reimagined as some type of hero by the far right these days. When actually, if you look at his politics, at the time, he was a lot more moderate than I think Republicans realized he was, insofar that he was, excuse me, willing to cut deals with the Democrats. And I mean, he used to be a Democrat. And with Tip O'Neill, who was it's so funny how things flip. Back in the 70s, 80s, Tip O'Neill was Speaker of the House forever. And I always thought that the House was the stronghold of the Democrats and the Senate was the stronghold of Republicans. But then during the 90s, somehow it flipped. Anyway. But why are we talking about Reagan? But anyway, I'll talk about Reagan real quick. He came from Hollywood. He used to be a Democrat. He certainly had a lot of gay friends, and there's a lot of like anecdotal evidence or anecdotal stories that he would not let anyone speak out against gay people in general. Like if people were joking about it, he didn't like it. In the 70s, there's this proposition in California to ban gays from being teachers that he was strongly against. So there's this like libertarian streak. So I don't think Republicans now that weren't around back then really remember or realize that he was kind of soft on social issues, at least as far as the LGBT community was concerned. But he can never, ever be forgiven for completely turning his back on AIDS. He let a lot of people die, I think, because of his mindset of that's something we can't speak about. So he didn't not only not speak about it, but he didn't do anything about this crisis that was going on. Anyway, sorry about that. Hated his politics, but loved the Omega Man. Well, all three of the movies I mentioned, Planet of the Apes, Omega Man, and Soylent Green, I think are super good movies. Well, that's a whole, okay, we could get into his economics. That's a whole other ball of wax. I mean, it's kind of a crazy concept that was the basis of his supply side economics, which was basically if you give the rich people more money, they'll create more jobs, which I think it's kind of proven isn't quite true. Now, just to give the flip side of when Reagan was elected in 80, taxes may have been too high. I think, what was the highest, the highest tax bracket in the 70s, I want to say 90%. Or it might not have been that high, but it was really high, somewhere between 70 and 90%. And so a lot of people were saying, well, yeah, even though you make a lot of money, that's too much to take from people. So maybe we should lower the taxes in the higher brackets. And maybe that's true. I don't know. But it's since then, since those first tax cuts in the 80s, the logic of Republicans of, well, if it was good for the 80s, then we should just keep cutting them. And it just spiraled. It didn't make any sense to me. Okay. Gay teachers back in the 70s, lesbians, that is. He was devastating through the AIDS crisis. Yes, indeed. 75 worked in a care home. One staff caught two old ladies in bed together, and she ran to tell the matron. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, it's so funny. My favorite high school teacher, I went to high school. I'm trying, I was going to say 70s, but I think it's I think I started high school in 79, so I graduated in 83. But my favorite English teacher, Ms. McGackey, single woman, older woman. By older, I mean maybe 50s, 40s, 50s. She had gray hair. I wouldn't really call her butch, but she definitely wasn't very femme. And I remember her inviting the group of us, we were like her AP English students, to her house. And so this, let's say, 50-year-old woman had a roommate who's a little bit younger than her, maybe in her 30s. Very pleasant woman. It never occurred to me that Miss McGackey was a lesbian. Never entered my mind at the time until later when I was like thinking about my favorite teachers in high school. It's like, you know what? I think Miss McGackey had a little bit of lavender in her. Said sorry. Yeah, that is a polite thing to do. I mean, goodness gracious. Okay. So this pink, I think it still looks pink, but it's kind of turned into purple. Let me see. I'm still looking for a light pink to blend up here. Oh, shit. Sorry. I don't usually curse on my channel. That was not it, Magoo. Okay. We're just going to have to leave it at this. Okay, now I'm going to go in with some black. About 2 weeks ago, had a big argument with the staff member who reported them, and I was fought. What? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, thankfully, times have changed. At least a little bit. No, they've changed. Have they changed enough? No. I don't think so. Okay, so I'm going in with some black. I mean, they'll just pass the, in Florida, they just passed those anti-drag laws. Which I think are just so crazy. And of course, anti-trans laws. And I think that's the basis for the anti-drag laws is really an attack on transgendered people because the um, the fear that some super conservative peoples have of their son or daughter being trans extends to the fact where we can't even see anyone in that could be considered trans, like a drag queen. And I would not be surprised if a Republican gets elected next time, because America sort of has a tradition of um, flip-flopping between parties, you know, Democrat for a period, then Republican, then Democrat again. So it flips back and forth. And Joe Biden is not the most popular person in this country. So it may be the Republicans' turn. Which I think would be very unfortunate, especially for the trans community. And the drag community, but I mean, drag is entertainment. It's not. It's not like an attack on who you are as a person that the anti-trans laws have. And honestly, I think it's going to be Trump. I don't think there's anything Trump can do that will really um, weaken him in the minds of the Republican Party. And I don't think uh, DeSantis is, I mean, if you've ever heard DeSantis speak, he's not very charismatic. And say what you will about Trump, he does have that that carny sort of way of presenting himself that people find amusing and funny and charismatic. Yeah, he's like a carnival side host, or, you know, the snake oil salesman. Think of the Music Man. Okay. But I think Trump would destroy DeSantis in any debate if they ever debate. What about Republicans who have found a war drag in the past? Isn't that true? It's just like every day they find a new one. But that's not drag. That was just a youthful indiscretion. In Australia, the Liberal Party are our Conservative Party, which confuses many Americans. Yeah, confuses me. Well, I don't know, because if you look up the term classical liberal, many Republicans will say they're classical liberals. So you'd have to look at the etymology of the word liberal, or the history of the word liberal. If Republican wins, I may have to emigrate. I hear you. I hear you. You heard it here. It's not something I want to predict happen, but it would not surprise me. Because I can't see a Republican, unless Trump goes to jail or something like that happens. I don't see any Republican that could unseat him in the primaries. Because DeSantis, as much as people are talking about him, he really does not have a good public presence, which I think really appeals to middle America. Like, Trump is a carny, but Obama had that I thought he's one of my favorite presidents, by the way, that very charismatic, professorial persona. Hillary, no, Hillary didn't have that charisma, but her husband did, Bill Clinton. I was a big Bill Clinton fan in the 90s. Okay, so I need to, try to think if I should do the under eyes now. Yeah, let me do some color under my eyes, and then I'll do eyeliner, and then cut the crease. Okay, so okay. DeSantis is so yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think I don't think he will survive the primaries once people start seeing him. Yeah, taken down by Disney. Yes, isn't that the truth? No, no. That's Pence. Pence was Trump's vice president, but he's like super, super. Is he Mormon? Or is that Romney? Or maybe it's just evangelical, but it's. I think it's Pence, the one that. Yeah, it looks like Pence. um, okay, that's good enough for the under eyes for now. Let's talk of something happier. Oh, I don't know if everyone here is into booktube, but if you are, you may have heard of Break Even Books, who is Eric McManus. Eric of Break Even Books has just become, or just put a shingle out as a literary agent and just made his first deal, which is pretty big news for him, I think. Okay. Okay, it's going to be a different eye shape for me. I'm not filling in. Just, I just really want to know where to cut the crease. Okay, we're just going to go with that. Like Break Even Books. Back to books. Just read The Shoemaker's Magician. I love the title. Part horror, part fantasy with a little. Oh, that's interesting. Is it based on the. What's the name of the fairy tale? The little man with the shoe that goes to sleep, and then the little elves or fairies or whatever make his shoes. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a retelling of that story. Oh, watch out for Lynette. After a month is up, expect a lot of books. Can't stop buying books. Latest purchase is a book written by your therapist's aunt. Oh, that's always interesting when you know someone that who the writer is. Only have a handful of books to buy for your next year's challenge. What's your challenge, Lynette? I know I think I mentioned like a couple challenges, if I remember correctly. Okay, so for pink, I'm just going to do silver. Crease and silver and try to ombre it in pink. Yep. Dropping things as per usual. Okay. To organize myself. Has nothing to do with that story. It's about a haunted film. Does that have to do with shoemaking? The film about shoemaking? My year of S&M. Really? Are we talking about sadomasochism or? Because of course, I highly recommend Cushiel's Dark by Jacqueline Carey, if that's the direction you're going. Oh, science fiction, Shakespeare-inspired, secret life, lives, etc. Well, if you haven't already, you should definitely check out Shakespeare's Planet by Clifford D. Simak. So what does the M stand for? Magic? S&M. M equals mystery, what's microhistory? Middle grade musical. Okay, so just things that start with S and things that start with M. You did realize what S&M people are going to think of. Yeah, I'm not sure what microhistory is. At least I haven't heard that term before. I assume a type of historical fiction, alternate history, fantasy. Okay. Sea, sailing, marine. Ocean themes. Microhistory is nonfiction. Oh, I see. Concerning a very narrow subject such as the history of rain, the history of umbrellas. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard it called that. to throw an idea out there for you. The history of fortune cookies. There's I think I mentioned it before in one of these streams. There is an interesting history regarding fortune cookies, which have become associated with Chinese takeout, that you get a fortune cookie. But the origins probably started in Japan. And during World War II, when Japanese Americans were interned in camps, which includes my mother and her family, a lot of Japanese restaurants were run by Chinese Americans who may have taken the little fortune cookies that were, and somehow the fortune cookie became associated with Chinese takeout or Chinese restaurants. But anyway, some author or researcher or whatever decided to research the origins of the fortune cookie, and it's kind of interesting. And I don't remember the name of the book or the name of the author, but how many books on fortune cookies can there be? Okay, so cut the crease. And we will start with oh, you couldn't find it. Yeah, I don't know the title. Maybe that's what it is, Fortune Cookie Chronicles. Oh, Lori's read the book. Okay, so I'm going, I guess about half up with silver. I'll go in with a little bit of pink. Blend these together. I should have just gone blue. Oh well, too late. Well, it wasn't quite what I wanted. Let me, okay, I know what I'm going to do. This may make my eyes a little bit cakey, but I'm only filming videos today, so what the heck. So I'm going to be filming the review of the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I'll probably do a Critical Role video for my monthly Critical Role review, which is the Dungeons and Dragons campaign. But this week, I'll be releasing my Shelve It or Shove It video. Okay, that's better. It'll come together. It will come together. At least that's what I'll keep telling myself. According to your Kindle, you have the Fortune Cookie Chronicles. Yay, Leslie loves Shelve It or Shove It. Yeah, I've been doing that series for a long time. It's really, I think it's so fun to do, and I'm just surprised that it's one of my better performing videos. I mean, none of my videos really perform, but usually I get like 100 views or over 100 views. My Harlan Ellison video did pretty well, but I think it's only because whenever there's something controversial, people are drawn to it. Yeah, I thought there might be more comments about the, since I showed the clip of Harlan Ellison touching Connie Willis's breast, if that would get much reaction, but. I think people just have their opinions. Oh shoot, where's my water? Okay, I need water to activate my black. Got it sitting right in my bathroom, ready to put on my desk, which I completely forgot about. Okay. I have longitude, which should fit your science, marine, and microhistory category, though I will only put it in one. I'm still really bad at reading nonfiction. I just, oh shoot. I just spilled chroma cake all over myself. Okay, that was not great. Did I just click off? I think I dropped my paper towels on my keyboard. Hopefully everyone's still here. Oh, goodness. Okay. Okay, we're good. We're good. I just pulled out the brush I wanted to use. I think I am overwhelmed by the amount of famous men who assaulted women. Yeah. Because you wouldn't think that it would be that much, but it seems like in every industry there's something that happens. Okay. We have to be quiet for this. I have to concentrate. And this is the most boring part of this makeup process because I have to like hunch down and okie doke. Now I'm going to go back with the eyeliner. Okay. Have the history of silver, history of the world according to sheep. That sounds like doesn't sound nonfiction. Oh, thank you, Leslie. Too lazy to put on makeup. Yeah, I know. I've followed some of your advice, Lori. Yeah, I would never be able to do this every day. I mean, of course, drag makeup is a whole different thing. I mean, it's more like putting on theatrical makeup or special effects makeup. Because I don't show you guys all of it. I mean, I already have the base and the contour and all that stuff done. Okay, so let's go back. I'm just using the black to deepen up this purple and not have it look so stark, to make it more of an ombre. Smoke at the bottom. Oh, next week I may have a new wig. I swear it's so hard because I get the wig from the same guy on the post on Instagram, Friston. And I've gotten so many wigs from him, but he's become popular, I guess, because it's really hard. Because it's basically first come, first serve on his Etsy shop. So it's really hard to find a wig that isn't sold. It's like they go up and now they're gone. So. Okay, I think we're done the eyes. If I go back in. Okay. Yeah, we're done. Could be here forever. Okay. Oh, Lori needs to bop. Have a great week, Lori. Sci-fi or speculative fiction includes solar punk, yay, steampunk, surrealism, slipstream, and space opera. Yeah, next week, new wig. Okay, so let's not be here forever. Let's put on some lipstick. We're just going to go red. I was thinking pink. kind of crazy to think, is what I'm doing actually illegal in Tennessee and Florida? Because I'm getting in drag. Okay. Difference between surrealism and slipstream. I'm not sure either. When I hear slipstream, I think of science fiction, sort of like I wanted to say psychedelic science fiction, but in space, which is surreal. So I don't know. Who knows with those states? When were those days? Oh, I long for the day when. I read that as I long for the days when. I think that's where we're headed. But it's interesting that women wearing pants seem to have caught on quicker or was much less taboo than men wearing dresses. Which probably says something about our culture and the fear of the feminine. There's been several attempts. I remember back in the 80s, or might have gone back to the 70s, I think 80s, where there have been movement for skirts for men. And this was at the time of David Bowie. Because if you're old enough, or if you've seen, was it on Ziggy Stardust? Him and his band used to wear these like pencil skirts that during his sort of gender bending days. But they certainly never caught on. as an everyday men's fashion. You love seeing men in kilts, so I would like to see more men in dresses. Article had a boy who was wearing a kilt to his prom and was made to change out of it. Really? Yeah. Yeah, I guess kilts are different because they're so associated with the Scottish culture. But like what I'm wearing now is sort of this caftan thing that in the Mideast is not uncommon for men, and they're super comfortable. And you don't have to worry about waist size. You know, sometimes pants can restrict your waist. Now you couldn't play sports in them. You couldn't go running or something like that, but I'm talking about these caftan type things, not kilts. Doke. And a bit of gloss. How are we doing on time? 90 minutes. Okay, this is average time today. There's a handyman service in the UK that wears kilts. Yeah, I just don't see it taking off in the US. Okay, so eyelashes, and then we are done, except for the outfit. cleaning up these lashes a little bit. It's that side, that goes on that side. DK Moon is here. Pants have some practical uses. Skirts are more for visual. Might be the reason why pants are easier to integrate. Could be. That could be true. Oh, window washers. I mean, don't you wear like nothing under kilts? So if you're like up washing windows on a ladder. But I'm pretty sure kilts you can like run in and do sports. But yeah, like a long dress or even these caftans, not so much. But I think Lynette's right. When all clothes are accessible to everyone, you know, or I should say all styles of clothes. That there would be a lot less brouhaha over drag, for one thing. Maybe drag won't exist then, because if you couldn't distinguish. Well, I think it would always exist, because drag is more an exaggeration of any style. And I'm not even talking about unisex. Well, maybe I am. But I mean, I still think it makes sense to cut clothes differently depending on your body type and gender or whatever. But if the styles are everywhere, then there's nothing to get upset about. And let's face it, the differences in our clothes and style to separate the genders is a social construct. It's nothing. No biological imperative for men and women to dress in different styles. Okay, so I think we are done, except for some accoutrements. So I was thinking about doing red today, red eye makeup. So I grabbed this big red necklace. So I don't really, do I have a pink necklace? Well, anyway. And also why I'm wearing this red thing. Okay. None of this goes together, but who cares? And the wig I got was my Doris Day wig. me zoom out a little bit. Okay. Although I swear it reminds me of Joan Rivers. Not that I could imitate Joan Rivers. Okay. I'm going to put on some gloves. As an older woman, I sometimes am told I shouldn't wear bright colors. Well, screw those people. Yeah, you should be able to wear what you want. Kelly is here, yay! Doris Day was a treasure. I love those old Doris Day movies. Those comedies with Rock Hudson. I was never really that fond of her in her dramatic roles, or maybe it was just the roles she picked. Actually, that's not true. I liked her in the Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Man Who Knew Too Much. Oh, I should have put on the earrings before the gloves. Oh well. Okay, y'all, I think this is the final look. We did pink today. I thought it was going to go more purple than it did, but it still looks pretty pink. And yeah, I think it turned out okay. Of course, who knows when I start filming. Your mom was shocked when I was told her Rock Hudson was gay. It shocked everyone at the time. I don't know when you told her, but yeah, it was, God, that was such a scary time in the early to mid 80s before there was, I guess up into the 90s, before there was really any treatment for AIDS. And it was such a stigma to have AIDS, and especially those old actors of the time, because I know Hudson wasn't the only one, but he was probably the biggest name. Okay, anyway, I got to go film videos. Thank you so much for coming here and being part of this Get Ready With Me. Be sure to join me next week, because I think I'm going to have a new wig that you don't want to miss. Okay, guys, you guys have a great week. And as always, may all the books you read be blessed.